What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gojo with Mike Golic Jr. That is me. With me, as always, a man who looks like he is poised to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the NBA's all-time scoring list, Brandon Newman. Brandon, what's going on?
I'm doing great, Mike. I'm just thinking about LeBron in this moment, but I don't want to get distracted with basketball because it's football season.
It's
still football season.
But you're wearing a Lakers jersey, so it felt like you were hinting that you wanted to talk about it.
Yes, but no. No, just no.
All right, Brandon. Well, we have a great show for you guys today for things that we do want to talk about here. My dad, Mike Golic Sr. and Stugots from the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugots. You can catch both of them usually on God Bless Football as well. Stupidity, the greatest podcast in the world, Golic and Smetty with my dad and Jessica Smetana. They're joining today to ride the lazy river of topics heading into the weekend. We're all getting ready to head out to Scottsdale for Super Bowl week next week. Stugots is going to be out there. Him, Billy Gill, my dad, you and I, Brandon, we're all getting ready to head out here. This is our last show, not together for the next week. We will get to be together and hanging out all next week, which is awesome.
Yes, I'm excited for all the sights and sounds of maybe some paper, rock, scissors matches between the what?
I hate when you do it in the wrong order like that.
I have to sit here and listen to you say Bazos for every other episode, and I can't say paper, rock, scissors.
It's rock, paper, scissors. It's rock, paper, scissors. No, if anyone out there is calling it paper, rock, scissors, I'm sorry to inform you you're wrong. You're doing it the wrong way.
Okay, well, I'm excited. I'm excited to have some in-person games with you then.
Yeah, by the way, if you're not already at Gojo Show on Twitter, Instagram, at Gojo Show _ I believe on TikTok. Going to be a lot of content coming out this week since we are together. Yes. We've got a lot of time. We're going to be at Radio Row, which if you've never been around the Super Bowl, you're going to hear me, Dad, and Stugots talk about it. It's a giant event center full of all of the different TV, radio, media people in general around the sport, huddled into one area, eating like pigs the entire week, walking around and gas bagging on each other's shows. Famous people, athletes, celebrities are in there hawking product left and right, giving you lukewarm takes just to sell whatever designer thing that they're there to push or whatever product someone's paying them tens of thousands of dollars to promote. It is incredible. It's a rush for about 2 or 3 days, then you want to headbutt a knife.
It's thirsty AF, Mike. It's
yes.
Thirsty AF. It's just it's a hard mix of looking really hard at someone to see if you recognize them, and then looking around and seeing people look very, very hard at you. Obviously, you are somebody they want to recognize. They see you and then they turn and whisper to their friend, "Oh, there goes Gojo Jr.'s there. One of his dads here." And then for me, it's like, does he play for the Texans? No, that's not the. No, that's someone else.
It's gonna be awesome. I'm excited to see everybody, especially with what we went through around COVID, not having all these things. The Super Bowl's. Someone described it to me as sports media prom because you normally meet people on the internet, you read people's work, you read whatever they're putting out there content-wise, and then you actually get to meet them and find out that they are not a cartoon avatar at the Super Bowl or any of the ordained championship events.
And this is the first time the DraftKings is going on the content side, Mike, and I'm happy to be here. It is kind of like prom because every time you have staples that you usually go to the Super Bowl with, but if you're like me, if you're like you, sometimes you're there with a new partner, and you're like, "Hey, can I introduce you to my new, I don't know how to, employer, I guess is the soft way of saying it." Yeah. It's a hard launch. It's like that first time you post an official picture on Instagram together. And I feel like going and doing it at the Super Bowl is that sort of official. So yes, we are going to be there. Dad, Sean King, Michael Lombardi, Ross Tucker, tons of the folks from DraftKings, from the Vegas Stats and Information Network, Stormy Bonantonio, who's been over here plenty, is going to be out there during the week. So it's going to be nice to see everybody. It's going to be awesome to get to go out here and keep shoving content your guys' way. So again, stay tuned, all the social channels. We're going to have that right there. Brandon, before we get too far into it, you're going to hear me and Dad and Stugots reference the Pro Bowl Skills Challenge from this weekend. If anyone was unaware, the Pro Bowl is going on in Vegas right now for the NFL, and they're not doing the damn game anymore. It's going to be a flag football game and some other nonsense, but Thursday night, they kicked it off with the Skills Challenge, and Brandon, electric. Absolutely electric content here. Water balloon toss between the AFC and NFC, including a bunch of the O&D linemen out there. You had that. You had
a variety of different positional players for the AFC and NFC fielding punts from the jugs machine and having to do, I don't know if you remember the specialists before practice, a lot of kick returners and punt returners would do the thing, especially in the NFL. This is big during training camp when there's crowds there and people want to get people to ooh and ah. They'll try and catch the ball and then hold on to it and then catch more balls. Guys will catch 5 and 6 at a time. And so they had the OD linemen and a bunch of linebackers and skill guys go through that. You had guys like Joel Bitonio, the offensive lineman for the Cleveland Browns, balling out in that thing. I think our boy Zach Martin jammed a finger during that. Patrick Ricard, the 300-pound fullback for the Ravens, was an animal. I believe it was won by Trey Hendrickson, the D lineman for the Cincinnati Bengals, who was electric. So all of it was really fun, Brandon. The only thing, honestly, they had the quarterback skills competition where they go through and throw balls at different targets with different values on them for the AFC and NFC to win. The line of the night, by far, came from Derek Carr, who came up there and went ham for the AFC to end that thing. You're throwing at all these moving targets, you're hitting discs with different point values, and he comes up at the end. And Ryan Clark, Laura Rutledge, Robert Griffin III, and Marcus Spears were all on the commentary team for this. And Ryan's handling the player interviews. And when he goes up to Derek Carr, he says, Derek, have you ever, you were red hot out there. You were incredible. Have you ever gotten that hot in Vegas before? Because it was played in their indoor facility. It's a home game for them. He said, have you ever been that hot in Vegas? To which Carr immediately responded, not that hot. That's probably why I'm going somewhere else. He had that one in the clip loaded.
I mean, the joke wrote itself, though. Obviously, Ryan Clark was probably insinuating, at the casino, been that hot in Vegas.
Oh, no, he was talking about there because, Carr had just played for the Vegas Raiders this year. They had played their home games out there. He was dealing. And so it just seemed like one of those things, Brandon. I remember one of our teammates had a line. One time Brian Smith, who's a linebacker at Notre Dame, jumped over and hurdled a running back who tried to cut him when he was blitzing. And he said, I had seen that running back do that in tape. I was jumping him on Wednesday. This was a response that Derek Carr had loaded up on Wednesday. He knew however he got to it, he was going to find his way to this remark to make sure he got his dig in.
And also, I shouts out to him and shouts out to the skills challenges as a whole, Mike. I think that's one of the most underrated things that the NBA All-Star Game offers. And it's such an odd specialty for football that it's like one of those things in practice. Every position wants to do a little bit of practice for the other position just for whatever reason. I don't even know why.
Brandon, the most fun I ever had before a game or before a practice, when we were in the Hawaii Bowl, our redshirt freshman year, Coach Weiss, before the Friday walkthrough, had everyone go out there, and the skill players and the linemen all switched their warm-up. So normally, we would go do ladders and bags to warm up, and the wide receivers and DBs would go do pat and go, where the quarterback just throws you fade balls, and you get to run down there and make the cool catches. And we flipped, so they had to go do the shitty drills that we did, and we got to go out there and play catch. And you'd have thought he gave us an extra scholarship stipend, that we were getting NIL deals. Then we were happier than pigs and shit.
It was a bunch of guys that had not run to their top speed in a very long time at practice, just because who wants to waste their energy going out there and putting on the burners like NFL Street. I remember pat and go. I can't believe I forgot that. That was some of the most fun I've had on a football field. Because
you got guys normally the most you get to flex during a practice if you're an O or D lineman, especially I can speak for O linemen, when we would do mirror dodge, where we're trying to mimic the defender while the offensive lineman tries to stay in front of him. We're throwing fake spin moves in there. We're busting out all the D-line moves that we left in high school. This one, when you got out there for pat and go, people are getting off the jam on the line of scrimmage. They're hitting footwork like they're Devontae Adams. It was ridiculous.
Speaking of that, I knew Zach Martin was headed for the Hall of Fame when I saw him do some mirror dodge drills. I heard rumor of how good he was as a defensive lineman back in high school. That guy, he could have started a 3 technique for us as well.
Built different all-star. Soft hands did very well on the water balloon toss. They had pre-taped longest drive competition, which was incredible. And I was stunned. The specialist involved in this, Tress Way, who was a punter, I forget for what team, and Justin Tucker were the two specialists. Both ended up losing to who ended up winning the longest drive competition?
It was Jordan. It was for the Commanders, by the way.
Okay, it was Jordan Poyer who ended up winning the longest drive. It was like a 320-yard drive on his last shot. That's right. Tressway was in that really nice video with the Commanders player who made the Pro Bowl as a specialist. Gave him the dap, all the love in there when he was in the office with their coach. So, yeah, so it was cool to see all those. Our guy Jimmy Clausen, former Notre Dame quarterback, made a little cameo. They did a most creative catch. It was all pre-taped, which, again, really helped with the pacing, made it a lot more palatable, where they took guys like Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs and Amon-Ra St. Brown and had them in different places around Vegas, catching a ball while they were ziplining, diving into the pool, all these different things. And Jimmy Clausen and Matt Leinart were the two quarterbacks that were throwing to those guys. So nice to see Jimbo still get to show off the arm a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a check for that. So a check for throwing the football. I love to see that.
It's a beautiful thing. So overall, I thought it was a big success. You brought it up. My favorite stuff from every All-Star game has always been skill challenges. In the NBA, when you get that full court version of it. At the NHL one, where they put the targets in the corner of the net and have those guys sniping those discs.
Man.
It's always the most fun here. There's no reason to play that game anymore. And I still think, again, dodgeball's the only one that didn't sing for me. I think it ends up slowing down a little bit. Throwing dodgeballs is a lot harder than you remember in gym class.
I understand you saying it's slowing down, but it's like no one complained about the game being slow when you're watching the Queen's Gambit, right? Like there's some chess, not checkers being played, and I said that right, yes. And I appreciate it, especially when you get a chance to see one of the most athletic players in the NFL take a ball to the face like Saquon Barkley did. Like
that was some bullshit, by the way, that apparently that's a rule that you can't hit someone in the head in dodgeball. I get that we're trying to take the head out of hitting in football. Dodgeball, you got to leave that. Demario Davis clipped Saquon Barkley in the head. They went and replayed it, and because it hit him in the head, Demario Davis was actually disqualified for the NFC defense. It went NFC defense versus offense, AFC defense versus offense, and then the winners faced off in the championship. And yeah, they DQ'd Demario Davis because he hit him in the head. These aren't hard balls. The fact that that was a disqualification, quite frankly, is bullshit. NFL dodgeball is rigged. The script was written.
When Saquon saw the script, he was going to get hit in the head with a dodgeball. Whew.
Yeah, pissed. So plenty more where that came from, but gold star for me on that. Again, if you really want to set this thing off, let them play knockout. Let them play pick-up basketball. I know you're not going to let them do because of the injury risk. Let them play knockout instead of dodgeball and collect profit. Y'all are welcome on that one. We will get to another Notre Dame quarterback that's in the news in a little bit. But first, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, my dad, Mike Golic Sr. and Stugots are going to join us to ride the lazy river.
Let's just pick it up. Where were we? With Smetty feeling the wrath.
Smetty feeling the wrath. It is. Jess has become like another like Golic sibling. I feel like I can text her about the same things. Dealing with my dad as my sister, only she doesn't have credit card access.
That's true. Did she have to eat a piece of paper of your family, of your entire family, to get in the family, or she just had to get a job with you, or went to Notre Dame? Wow.
You went above and beyond to do that,
right?
Yeah, I don't know if did we ask you to do that, or did you just volunteer that?
No, I was asked to do that on national TV. So no, don't do it that way. I was asked to, and I did it with a smile on my face because that's how badly listen. That's how much I love your family. That's how badly I want to be a part of your family. Okay.
But you did so many embarrassing things on the other side. That was just to kind of make up for the stuff. Right. So that didn't put you ahead.
No, you're right. Smetty is clearly way ahead of me. There's
no doubt about it.
She works smarter, not harder. Now
the question is, am I ahead of Sid? That's really the big question.
That's tough. She does all my social media for me, so I need her. Except she does one tweet for me and emails me a bill for $25,000. So it can get a little pricey to work with her.
Again, the Stugots might be as strong in my sister as anybody on earth. Like the only person I saw recently more Stugotzian than Sydney. Stugots, I'm sure you saw this. Mike Francesa going on First Take and basically calling Tom Brady a compiler.
Yeah. Listen, when you haven't given a take of any sort of consequence, okay, with any sort of audience in so long, you have to come out of the gates with something special. And Mike Francesa delivered on First Take. Tom Brady, a classic compiler. He compiled 7 Super Bowl rings.
There's one thing to compiling stats, but when you're compiling the thing that every person cherishes in your sport and you have 7 of them, that kind of puts you in a different category. No doubt about that. Yeah.
Yep. And then when you leave and go win it without the guy that's seen as the other half of the dynasty that you built there and actually live out the sports talk fantasy that we all said there, it is interesting, though, because Tom Brady does have that sort of unique thing where everything we talk, like for a lot of quarterbacks now, you can look at and say, oh, with Patrick Mahomes, it's all the insane off-platform throws and him buying time in the pocket. Like, Dad, could you name the best thing Tom Brady did physically on the field readily? It seems a little bit harder to place because his physical skill set was never really the sell, but he also wasn't as demonstrative at the line of scrimmage as like a Peyton Manning or someone like that, to Francesa's point.
Yeah, well, listen, his skill was his ability to read defenses, kind of just like Peyton. You know, I mean, that's what their skill was, is figuring out. I mean, I love the story with Harrison Smith, Mike, your old teammate at Notre Dame, you know, obviously been playing for years as a Pro Bowler with the Minnesota Vikings, was kind of baiting back and forth with Brady on where he was lining up, trying to disguise. And Harrison said, Brady just looked at him and said, will you line up right here? Because I know that's where you're going to end up. You know, and Harrison was like, shit, you know? I mean, it's kind of like, Mike, you talking about Luke Kuechly, you know, when you played against him at Boston College and you were on the O-line at Notre Dame, of just knowing the plays. Now, obviously, at linebacker, you have to be a little more physical as well as knowing the plays. But the ability to know where you're going with the ball or where your best options are before the snap even happens. And then, obviously, the accuracy and the wherewithal to get it there. I mean, is just, he's proven to be just an unbelievably deadly combination.
Wait, so Brady wanted Harrison just to go to the place where he knew he was going to end up? That's next level mastering of the position.
He said, I know you're going to end up here, so why don't you just go ahead and get there? Yeah, I know that's where you're going to be. And Harrison was like, shit, okay.
Yeah, Harrison Smith, also a future Hall of Fame player, being stunned on the field by the greatest of all time.
Gojo, it was right there he realized he was playing checkers. That's it.
Yes.
Stugots, I just realized now, too, this is like freeing for you as a Jets fan. Do you feel lighter walking into the day knowing that Tom's finally gone?
I mean, listen, he's been gone out of the division for a while. Unfortunately, Josh Allen's now in it. And so it's like, I mean, we just can't catch a break. Hopefully, we will catch a break. I'm not convinced that Tom Brady is gone. I'm not. And no one should be. I'm just... Mike, I'm not convinced, okay? I know that makes it Brett Favre if he comes back again and does it again, okay? I just have a hard time believing. I really do. I have a hard time believing that Tom Brady went through all of this with his family, lost his marriage to his wife because he wanted to play one more season in Tampa Bay. Like, to me, that just, it doesn't make sense. And so I think maybe as we get closer to next NFL season and with the San Francisco quarterback job possibly having an opening, because we'll see what happens with the Purdy injury and Trey Lance and how he recovers, and Tom coming from that area, I could see maybe Brady coming back for another year or two in San Francisco. I could see that. I know it's not a good look for a guy like Tom Brady. Like, oh, we just can't let it go. He keeps hanging on. Make up your mind. I don't think Brady cares at this point. Like, if he feels like playing in May or June and wants to come back, they're not going to say no. And who's really going to care, you know? And J.J. Watt will be super happy. I mean, how about that? Because 5 years from the day, J.J. Watt thought it was going to be J.J. Watt Day, and now it's Tom Brady Day. How about that?
Yeah, that is very true. I happen to think, Mike, that he's going to stay retired. It would start to get Brett Favre-ish if he came back again. But I agree with Stu. I don't think Tom cares about that. I just think, and I also agree with Stu when he says, why would he go through all he went through just for one more year and it to end that way? But I really think this year, Mike, the personal side got into it. And I don't know anything about it. I don't care to know anything about it. That's Tom's business. You know, I if he wants to talk about it, fine. If he doesn't, that's his business. But everywhere he went, New England forever and then Tampa Bay for a few years, what did he have around him? He had his family around him, right? And now that wouldn't happen. If he went to San Francisco, it seems like the kids and Giselle are staying in Miami. You know, and if that is in fact the truth, we know how Tom is. Tom is from March to the end of the season. Tom would go to San Francisco and have all those receivers working out at a local high school or whatever, you know, just practicing. We know his commitment level. And this would be, it would seem, now I can't say this with complete accuracy, but I think it would be a first season away from everybody if his family is not with him. And maybe he's just like, you know what, I don't want to do that. So while I think professionally I agree with Stu, I don't think he really wants to end. I think that personal side of it may have really added to the decision this time around.
Well, I think also you do all that work that Tom Brady does to go barely 500, barely make the postseason and get your ass beat the entire time. There did kind of have to be part of him that was like, oh, now I'm old and all of this is a little bit harder. I do have the added strain of, all right, how do I go about handling and being around my family in a way that's different than before because the circumstances changed there. And the result on the back end now is no longer guaranteed to be deep postseason run opportunity at a Super Bowl. Maybe at that point, it's a lot easier to say, yeah, you know what? I've sort of reached that limit where the standard I've held myself to is no longer being met. So I'm not going to stick around to watch it get worse.
He set the bar so high for himself, right? But Mike, when you really look back, Gojo, when you look back at last year, he had a really good season. Like he did. Yes. He had a really good, by anyone else's standards, Tom Brady had a really good season. And I think if you put him in San Francisco and it's George Kittle and it's McCaffrey and it's Ayuk and it's Deebo Samuel and it's that system and that coach with that defense and maybe Gronk comes back for one more run and then you have Gronk and then you have Gronk and George Kittle, which is like Hernandez and Gronk, you know. I think there is some sort in his mind, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but in his mind, he's like, all right, I'll put the work in. I don't have to put as much work in as I used to, but I put the work in with this team, enough work in with this team, and we're going to find ourselves at the very least in the NFC Championship game. It's the easier path, easier conference. I could just see it happening. I'm not saying it's imminent. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I could see as the season gets closer, Tom says, hey, you know what? I can pull it off here. That's all.
Stugots, what do you think you'd be more confident in? Tom Brady coming back and doing that or the Jets actually landing Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, God.
Have you bought into that at all? I haven't really looked into what the source of all of that reporting is other than the Jets hired Nathaniel Hackett and everyone for the last 2 off seasons has thought that might be a gateway into getting Aaron to look your way the way Denver thought it would work.
Well, no, you know what it's like, Gojo? It's like, hey, let's go get DeAndre Jordan. And if you do, you get Kevin Durant.
Heady play.
But is your right. whole Stu though, is you and Jet fans' whole offseason, is it like get Aaron Rodgers? I mean, because you don't have a quarterback. So I mean, what from a Jets fan perspective is it? And if it's not Aaron Rodgers, you know, get Derek Carr, get somebody. Is that where you guys are?
Mike, let's clarify things, okay? Let's clarify one thing. We don't have a good quarterback. Okay, we have quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah, right.
Just none of them are really good. I mean, what else do we have to root for? I mean, other than Aaron Rodgers, I will tell you that we haven't had many great moments, many great spans, but one of the great spans and one of the great moments of my lifetime as a Jet fan was the 11-game, 8-3 start of Brett Favre. It was a glorious time, and I'm willing to go through that again. And I will give whatever we have to give just to go 8-3 and not make the playoffs, to be quite honest with you. But no, Mike, I think it's such a good fit. I think Joe Douglas, and I do believe it's going to happen for a couple of different reasons that I'll get to in a second. But I think Joe Douglas has done such a good job of putting together. Now, he hasn't landed the quarterback, but he's done such a good job of getting everything else that he has made that team attractive to someone like Aaron Rodgers, where he'd be willing to go there to play because the defense is good, they're young, the receivers are good, they're young. Breece Hall will be back next year. he proved to be a very good running back. I think he likes Robert Saleh. I know he loves Nathaniel Hackett. And so I think Rodgers views that. And listen, and here's the other thing. He has lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin for the last 15 years. Does everyone know how fucking boring it is in Green Bay, Wisconsin? And now he has a chance to go to New York City. A bit more exciting. And the bar is set so low for that organization. He goes to San Francisco. He has to win a Super Bowl.
Yes.
He goes to the Jets. They'll be happy if he gets to the second round of the playoffs. Heck, they'll be happy if they go in as a wild card and lose in the first round. The bar is set so low there. So, yes, I do believe that's a place that Aaron Rodgers would agree to go to if the Jets came up with the right deal.
I did an interview a few days ago, and I can't believe the person mentioned me. They said, if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, are they the favorite in the AFC? Like, no, they're not the favorite in the AFC. They've upped their level, but they're not the favorite in the. I'm not putting them ahead of Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati. You're
doing that because of the quarterback play, right? And I don't blame you, but in Aaron Rodgers' mind, he probably says to himself, like, I think a lot of people think, hey, Aaron, go to the NFC or stay in the NFC.
Yeah.
I don't think a guy who's considered one of the great quarterbacks of all time thinks about, hey, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all those guys. I think he thinks, hey, if I go there, we become better, we become the favorite.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Aaron Rodgers thinks.
Yeah, I'm sure Aaron Rodgers thinks that as well. I just don't think that's
you don't
the
agree.
truth.
Right.
I do think it becomes really interesting because, like Stugots brought up, and with where they're drafting this year, I've seen them, mock drafts having them take one of the Ohio State wide receivers again in the first round. So now you pair one of those mutants with Garrett Wilson, who's already there, Breece Hall, who I think was on track to win Offensive Rookie of the Year the way that he was playing for the first 6 games.
Agree. Yeah.
And then the defense on the other side, if you can get that to hold year over year, that front seven, especially that they had, life can change for you in a hurry. Like, we're talking about a Buffalo team that's going to be doing some soul searching this offseason that had a little bit of attrition towards the end of the year with the Josh Allen injury, with the offense regressing a little bit defensively. They were a shell of themselves by the time they got to the postseason. So looking at the bones there, now that Rob Saleh, as a coach, showed a lot of progress in year 2, right? Because I feel like you guys can appreciate this. As a head coach, your background can't be the weakness on the team, right? If you're a defensive-minded head coach, you can't come in and have a shitty defense. That's how you get fired. Right. Nathaniel Hackett's offense pissed all over itself in Denver, and they fired himself after a year. In the Jets, at least Rob Saleh got the defense. Like, okay, we see why we brought you over from San Francisco. You've got this side of the ball down cold. Now, if you had the quarterback on the other side, this was already a team that was kind of flirting with aspirations during this year when you had Mike bleeping White playing quarterback looking like the second coming.
Mike, I think when you look at the handful of teams and say which teams are a quarterback away, literally the Jets are, I think, the feeling is the Jets are a quarterback away. I'm not certain there's another team that has that feel, maybe San Francisco, but the Jets are a quarterback away, Mike, from being a really competitive team.
Oh, I agree. No. Listen, I agree. I just, if Aaron goes there, I'm not all of a sudden saying they're the favorite in the AFC, but they're definitely a quarterback away. And can I quickly ask, basically a week before the Super Bowl, why in God's green earth name are we talking about the Jets? Oh my God!
What do you mean? They're putting a deal together. Aaron Rodgers. What do you mean? That's what else you want to talk about? The Pro Bowl? I mean,
I do feel like the Pro Bowl is now venturing into territory where they need to bring Stugots on as a consultant. That is one thing that I've been thinking about.
Or a commentator.
Well,
yes.
I see Stugots and Barkley, to me, would be the dream Pro Bowl commentary team. That's no disrespect. Dan Orlovsky, Laura Rutledge, Ryan Clark, they're all going to do a phenomenal job. But I feel like in a world with all these simulcasts, you just need to put Barkley and Stugots in a room, give them a few packs of heaters, and then just clear out.
I agree.
Oh, yes. Yeah. With all due respect, I mean, Laura Rutledge is probably going to disagree with you. Just so you know.
Probably going to. Yeah.
She's fantastic at her job. She probably thinks she's more deserving.
Oh, but you put her on E1. You put you guys on E2. A little bit different feel, looser vibe.
Why? Is Barkley doing something with the Pro Bowl?
No.
Is he indeed doing something? No, he's not.
No, I just feel like he could do something with everything. You kind of plop him in, and after I saw him on the match, he was great.
Remember when he was on in between one of the intermissions at a hockey game one time. They put him on. It was
great,
and he was phenomenal.
I know,
phenomenal. Yeah. I don't normally tune in. I'm not saying, I'm going to watch this game in particular because of the announcers. But man, if Barkley's doing something when they put him on, when he does all the matches, with those golfers and stuff, he's gold. I mean, he is the one guy you say, you know what, I'm going to tune in to listen to that.
I think especially with this year, because I saw the players warming up, they're doing like the longest drive and a bunch of other stuff. Like, I feel like it just needs to either turn. I always said the Pro Bowl needed to be a 5-on-5 pickup hoops game, but if you turned it into a hyper competitive golf match with just rampant gambling from all the players, like the match, but even more unhinged, then you bring in Stugots as the ultimate commentator, because who would know that better than you, Stu?
That's the right. I'm doing it today. I mean, right after we're done.
Beautiful thing.
We'll get into that in a second here. I think that's the spot for me and Barkley is the match. And I've tried. Like, I've tried to get on those broadcasts where it's me and Barkley doing the match. That's where I think it could have a lot of fun. I didn't get it. Barkley did.
I think you guys should be in the match. I think you two and two other golfers should actually be
playing in the match. I'm not good enough at golf, man. I should be better the amount I play.
But I think that's the fun of it. I'd rather not get, scratch golfers or, guys with 3 handicap.
The best part of the match was watching Tom Brady go and look like shit out on the courts.
He looked human. Yeah. So I say get a match with everybody who's like a 13-plus handicap. Let them go have a match and see how that all works out while you're gambling on all the shots. I mean, it's not like closest to the pin. It's like on a par 4, 50,000, you actually get it in the fucking fairway.
I'd be so nervous if someone had 50,000 on me just to get in the fairway. Oh my God!
I played in a Pro-Am, the Houston Pro-Am one time, and I think it was with Gary Woodland, and Greeny and I were playing. And we're playing like a par 4, and we're like one something out, a decent iron to get in. And there's water all along the right-hand side. And I'm sitting there next to Gary, and Greeny's ready to hit. And I said, maybe this was a dick move. I said, Greeny, $50, you put it in the water. He's like, come on, Mike. He said, I thought we gambled he goes, those aren't the kind of gambling things you do. Sure enough, he put it right in the water. He was so pissed at me.
It might be a dick thing to do.
Yeah, I know. I guess it was. Oh, Woodland loved it. He was laughing his ass off.
Of course. And Woodland, like when you play next to a PGA player, Mike, it's like the most impressive thing ever.
It's incredible. Their shots are cannon shots off the tee. It's so much fun. Yeah.
So I can tell you guys, the first time I played with Greeny, I told him what my handicap was. I told at the time, it's the only time I played with Greeny. I told him it was like a 16 or a 17, and we teed off. Now, I play from the blues. Greeny plays from the whites. He plays a little bit closer than I play. I did not know that. So when we got to the course, I said, we're playing from the blues, right? And he said, no, we're playing from the whites. And I said, you're going to give me my original handicap then, right? He said, yeah, sure. And within 2 holes, Greeny was so upset with me. He's like, you're not a 16. You're not a 16. You're not a 16. You fudged your handicap. Of course you did. You still got it. Yeah, and just like hyperventilating. And I'm like, Mike, forget the bet. Yeah. Let's just fucking play golf and stop crying. Okay?
I mean, he has a point. If there's anyone whose handicap I would trust less than yours, Stugots, I think the only person might be my dad's. He might be the only bigger sandbagger out there than you. And that's just because he started playing more recently.
Either that or Patrick Reed, one of the 3. I don't know.
Right. Oh, yeah, Patrick Reed. Mike, what's the most amount of money? So sometimes me and my friends, and that will be the case later this afternoon, we like to jack up the prices so high because we want to try to simulate what the pressure must feel like on the PGA Tour. Now, I use that as a convenient excuse for having a gambling problem. But what's the most amount of money you've ever played for at a golf course? Like something that would make you nervous.
I've never played for that much. And the thing about it is I don't know enough of the different gambling things that are done. Basically, at the end of the round, I just say, who do I owe money to or who owes me money? I think the most I've ever lost is a couple $100, and the most I've ever won is a couple $100. So, the whole thing about that to simulate golf and the pressure, it would have to be an amount of money that we would all be uncomfortable with, right? Just like you go to the casino with more money than you want to would make you nervous to lose more than you feel you can lose.
So, Stugots, are you willing to say a number out loud that you've bet lost on the golf course?
I'm willing to say what we're about to gamble today.
All right.
And then you can kind of go from there. But Mike, what is the most you bet at the blackjack table? Is there an amount that makes you nervous when you're there?
Well, it all depends on if I have their money or if I'm trying to make up my own money. When I've had their money, the most I've ever bet on a hand was $3,000.
Right. That will make you nervous.
Yeah. And even though it was their money, it was a night I was doing incredibly well. Probably one of my best nights ever. Normally I lose a few hundred or I win a few hundred. This one was just going the right way. So at one point I had mostly their money. I was like, fuck it. I just pushed $3,000 up there. Of course I lost, but it was wild to do. I remember one of the first times I met, the professional football players did arm wrestling. Right. And they did it with the pros. They not against the pros. They did it like amongst themselves while the pros had a tournament as well. It was actually very cool. It was a lot of fun.
I'm sure.
And Jonathan Ogden was one of the football players. And I walked in, and it was in Vegas, and I walked in one of the casinos, and he saw me, and we were just talking. He was playing blackjack, turning to the side, talking to me, betting like $5,000 a hand. I'm just looking at it going, holy shit, dude, you're just casually talking to me and just putting it up there, sometimes winning, sometimes losing. I'm like, man, I would love to be in that position someday. Wow.
Yeah, it's bleep you money. That's what it is. Right? Yeah. He doesn't care about it. He's just there, right? He's going through the motions, just pushing chips out.
That was amazing.
Just a slow Tuesday for J.O.
Wait, so if you, being up that's the definition of house money, what you did, Mike. I'm up a lot of money. Here's 3,000. Okay. If you want to feel alive, be down 3,000 and bet 3,000.
When you're trying to make it up, when you're trying to get it all, instead of kind of just chipping away at it, you try and get it all back in one. Next thing you know, you're 6,000 in the hole, and you're going, shit. Yeah, it can be tough.
Gojo, where do you want me to go here? You want exact amounts? I can't name names. My friends would be very upset with me.
Oh no, I don't want you to name names. I just want to know what amount we're dealing with here.
So we do this once a month, Mike, because again, we want to feel what it's like to be on the PGA Tour.
Okay? Oh, I'm sure this is it. Yeah. I'm sure when you finish the round, you're like, boy, it's just like walking off Augusta.
I would love to see the BAC of the average tour player and the BAC of you guys at the end of this round.
All right, so we'll go. And again, we do this. We'll try to get 36 in, but the sun goes down a little bit earlier than it used to. So hopefully, I mean, you should see it during a summer day, Gojo. It will never end until we're all even. So Mike, I have 3 friends. We'll break up into 2 teams. It will be $5,000 per side. Okay. So whichever team wins front 9, 5. Whichever team wins the back, 5. Total 10 for the 18. And then we have $100 per person per skin. So
see, that's where I get lost.
With carryovers. Okay. So we start at 400. If we tie, it goes to 800. If we tie, it goes to 1,600. If it ties, it goes to 3,200, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of tying going on. So you have kind of like a little individual game snuck into the middle of what's a big team game, which is 2-on-2.
See, because you're right, as you started mentioning it, my blood pressure started going up because
it's a lot of money.
You get into some clutch putts down at the end, and you can absolutely get that feeling. Because my original thought was to get the feeling of being one of the pros and to really get me ratcheted up and my heart rate up. All you got to do is put a gallery. Put a few people on either side of the tee box when I'm teeing off there. And I'm so worried about killing them that I am all of a sudden feeling that. Like, that to me is the pressure I associate with the pros is you've got other people around you that you've got to worry about, but $10,000 might do the same thing.
It is such a great point and such a great point by you. Now, I know your dad has played in golf tournaments where there are galleries, but the first time I did it was Lake Tahoe, and I was a wreck. And Mike, I know you're going out there this summer with me.
Yeah.
We're going to play together.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I don't know where you played and what tournaments you played, small galleries. There are large galleries at Lake Tahoe. They're out there to see not me and you, Mike, Mahomes and Kelsey,
right?
But they are big, big galleries nonetheless.
It's my biggest fear. Now, I had a gallery at Monday after the Masters. Mike, you were there, Hooting the Blowfish. There's a gallery there. They have people there. At the Houston Open, when we played in the Pro-Am, there was a gallery there, and luckily I got through it. But it was really only on the first hole. I heard at Tahoe, there's just crowds everywhere.
It's crazy.
It, without a doubt, is the thing that will scare me the most. Now, I'll be less worried if I slice one over to the beach and hit somebody there, because those people it feels like they're going to all be too drunk to feel it.
Yeah.
But I without question, Stu, that is the thing that scares me the most, that these people will line up for my shot somewhere thinking that I know what the hell I'm doing, and I'm going to be like, you people you're screwed. I mean, move away. Move away. I'm going to hit you.
Yeah.
There's a par 3 there where thousands of people are just gathered around. They're there to it's like the Waste Management Open,
right,
which is
to mock you,
in
right?
Arizona.
Yeah.
They are there to mock you.
Yeah.
Like relentlessly.
And I don't mind that. I mean, I really don't have a problem with that. I just don't want to hit them.
Oh, no, you go there, you do a shot with them, you have a drink with them, you hang out. It's great. It's a great scene. And of all the people we were there with, I shanked one to the left. I was drunk. I was nervous. They're mocking me. Greg Cody stuck one 10 feet from the hole.
Really?
Now it grounded up there. I mean, it was a ground ball. They just went up there.
So
who cares?
Yeah.
Right?
Not how it starts, how it finishes.
Numbers, not pictures. Numbers, not pictures.
Yeah.
Greg Cody, that beautiful bastard.
Oh, he's the best.
Wait, Stugots, you mentioned
Gojo, is that enough to make you nervous, by the way? The numbers I was just floating?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes me nervous, too.
Oh, my God.
As I was saying it, I'm kind of thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing?
Thank God Abby doesn't listen to what you put out content-wise anymore. I'd imagine she'd be furious.
Well, she just doesn't listen. And I tried to dial back. I'm doing it again right now because she is 3 rooms away.
She heard it. She heard it.
She probably knows, right, Mike?
So wait, is it $5,000 a person or $5,000 a team?
$5,000 a team.
All right, so it's costing you $5,000 total for the front and back, and then whatever for the skins in between, right?
So I would lose, Mike, if you do it 50-50. If I lost everything today, I can't account. But sometimes you get into things where, hey, I want to win the skin after my teammate. Yes, which is the beauty of it.
Which is a really bad time to have Stugots on your team.
So 5 split 25. Twice 5, and then 10 grand. I could also win it.
You can also win it, right? That's the beauty of it. Good for you.
Oh my God.
Well, we'll see.
Stugots, you brought up Waste Management. We are getting ready to head out to Arizona for Super Bowl week next week. Waste Management is also the same week. Now, Stugots, are you going this time around? Because I know for you guys, you haven't often gone to Radio Row with the Levitard show over the years. When it was in Miami, I remember seeing you finally get to go to Radio Row for the first time since I'd been going to Super Bowls. And it was the most glorious, artist painting in their preferred medium that I've ever seen. So are you going this year? Are you excited? Where are we at?
I am going this year. It's funny, we don't go to the one that's in Miami, but we do go to the one that's in Arizona.
How about
what a weird show. I am going. The time you saw me there, Mike, I felt right at home. It's in my wheelhouse. I hold court on Radio Row. I love Radio Row. There's a buzz to it. There's a feel to it. I love our industry. I love seeing old friends. I love going on shows that I'm invited on. I love going on shows I'm not invited on. I love acting like I know everyone, even if I don't know them. I'm walking now. I am doing a tour where I'm promoting nothing but your dad. Okay. Your dad is promoting 6 different products on Radio Row. I hope to have him on for each of the 6 products. But I am just going to go to be in my element. So me, And Billy Gill, one of our camera guys, Danny, will be out there. I know we'll be doing some stuff with you, Gojo. We'll be doing some stuff with Mike, with your dad as well. And so I'm very much looking forward to this. I think it's the perfect spot for Super Bowl. You have the waste management in town. That's such a fun tournament. It's such a great Super Bowl, Eagles and Chiefs. And the Golics are there. I mean, this is like heaven to me. Are you getting my going?
That is true. Dad, this is the perfect Super Bowl for you because as much as Stugots loves all that stuff, you just love getting to sleep in your home at night. And so this is also the perfect Super Bowl for you.
Yeah, I think this is about my 26th or 27th Super Bowl, and only 2 have been – well, no, actually, when it was here last time, we didn't have the place here. So this is really the first time where I'm just at home, being able to sleep in my own bed. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to that because I slept on a lot of shitty beds over the years. But I think the weather's going to be great, by the way, Stu. And Mike, you're out on the West Coast anyway. You know it. Well, Stu, you're in Miami. The weather's nice. But coming up on next weekend, it's supposed to be like 75, 77. I mean, it is going to be really, really nice to hit the links and hit the parties.
Yeah, Mike, you surprised your dad's only promoting six products.
I was going to ask him to rank them. Which is your favorite product that you're getting ready to promote next week?
Please do that.
I think I will not do that, but I think you'll know.
He loves them all equally.
Yeah, no, I don't.
And I could love more.
No, I don't. And I think you know what separates them.
Oh, I think I do, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, there's a hierarchy, all right. There's people who get way more love than others. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, if you hear my dad talking a little bit more excited about one thing versus the other, you can trace that directly back to the source of the exact same thing that's driving Stugots on the golf course to feel more like a pro.
The toughest thing is, you know what we always have to do is whenever you go on a show, you got to give a pick, and I can't give a pick. Because I'm calling the game, so
that makes it easy. What are you talking about? You have you have the best gig going around Super Bowl week. You can't be wrong.
But people usually get a little bummed when you can't give it. You know, they're looking at we did this all the time. You get every guest you have on to give a pick, and you have that all, but I can never give a pick. So, but you're right. From my side of it, I love it. So I never have to worry about it.
You know what? I mean, listen, God forbid the radio hosts that are on Radio Row have to get a little bit creative with Mike Golic Sr., okay? And not asking for his pick. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
Do some work, people.
Might be asking too much, too.
Stugots, how many different picks will you give out during the course of the week in Radio Row?
Oh, yeah. Every other table gets a different, like every table. I'll go table to table, okay? It will be Chiefs. It will be Eagles. It will be Chiefs. It will be Eagles.
Different scores.
It will be Eagles.
30-7.
And at least half the markets I'm on in, I look like a genius. You know?
That's exactly right.
Oh, exactly. Stugots going on with local Philly stations, just pandering his ass off like Nick Sirianni. It'll be perfect.
I don't like Philly. Philly's the one place. I'm going to pick, when I go on in Philly, I'm going to pick Kansas City by a lot.
Oh, boy.
And when I go on in Kansas City, I'm going to pick Philly by a lot. Right. Yeah.
Stugots, you feel like the prime candidate. Unfortunately, this would involve a lot of travel, but I feel like you could pay somebody off to go and be the person that puts the Chiefs jersey on the Rocky statue in Philadelphia, since everyone's doing that now.
I would love to do that. I really would.
Oh, I'd hate for you to get caught doing that. That would end badly for you.
Do you think?
Oh, in Philly?
Because they're so warm and fuzzy over there?
Yeah, they would bounce you off the statue.
I would like to do that. So wait, that happens, Mike? Explain that to Junior. Explain that to me. What happens? So they put Chiefs jerseys on the Rocky statue.
There's been this trend going around, and it's not been an every week thing, but I believe the Giants, the Vikings, and then last week the 49ers had all had fans go to Philadelphia and put their team's jersey on the Rocky statue, and everyone who's done it has lost. Now, I heard Jason Kelsey on him and his brother's podcast say that he thinks it's an inside job. He thinks this is a Philadelphia fan doing this to stir up shit, get the team fired up, and then have them go out and stop it. He doesn't think an opposing fan base at this point would be dumb enough to go and try and deface the statue, but that's what's been happening.
That's interesting. All right, I want to do it. I think it. So if the Chiefs win, I go to the Rocky statue and I put a jersey.
No, you got to do it before the game.
Before
That's
the
the whole
game.
idea. Is
But I got to fly. I got to fly to Philly first, then to Arizona.
No, Stugots, this is what I mean. This is where I think you've got a better way here is you just pay off. The Stugots army is out there. They are willing. I'm sure you've got someone in Philadelphia that you could get under cover of darkness to go and then put the Chiefs jersey on the Rocky statue for you.
Okay. I am going to. I actually know I have the perfect person to do this for me. I don't even need to solicit one. I have a good friend in Philadelphia who would be more than happy to do this for like $25.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There we go. See, Stugots, perfect bit of podcast cross promoting is the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers is hotter than fish grease right now.
It's fantastic.
They're blowing up. They're having a great year. So you go and you put the 87 Travis Kelce jersey on the statue, and then you feed into the conspiracy theory that they had on that podcast. You collect, maybe you leave a little God Bless Football note on there, something like that, and call it a day.
It'd be great if I get Travis in on it, right? Like,
ooh,
how about that?
There we go.
By the way,
do that. That's who I'm reaching out to right after the show.
Travis Kelce is urging Chiefs fans to not do that. There has been There has been a Patriots jersey on it, a Giants jersey, a 49ers T-shirt. Someone put Mike Allstott's jersey on the Rocky statue, Tampa Bay. So, yeah, there's been a few times it's been dressed up, that's for sure.
Did you guys see the outrage in New York City when they put the Eagles colors on the Empire State Building?
Why would they do that?
I don't know. I totally understand why New Yorkers, they don't care about Kansas City.
Yeah.
They don't care. There are two cities that New York wants nothing to do with, okay? And as far as they're concerned, New Yorkers are concerned, that's their building, okay? They should control the lights that go on that building. One of them is Boston. The other is Philadelphia.
Without a doubt.
I don't know whoever made that decision. Now, here's my theory, Mike, that New York City has been sitting on those green lights forever, and they never get to use them for the Jets. So they used them for Philadelphia. They finally had an opportunity.
Wow.
Oh, you know what? And perfect crime by them. The Empire State Building's Twitter account went up like 100,000 followers after that. So this is just the no publicity is bad publicity idea from them.
Exactly right. But I do understand why New Yorkers were upset with that. You can't do that.
Oh, me too. I can't believe that they did that. And I can't believe whoever did that may still have a job, quite honestly.
Make no mistake about it. New York is rooting against Philadelphia.
Without a doubt. And you're right. Yes. Philly and Boston, they want nothing to do with them. Nothing.
Oh, yeah. Can I ask you a question, Mike? You played there. Like, what happens if Jalen Hurts has a bad game? Like, he's had an MVP type season. Is it going to be one bad moment, and that's how fickle that fan base is?
Well, I mean,
they'll turn on Jalen Hurts that quickly.
They'll basically turn to prove it. You know, he's going to get big money. Right. He deserves it. He played extremely well, but then it's going to be, all right, you got the big money. You want to be considered one of the top quarterbacks. You got to get us over the top. You got to win a Super Bowl. There's no doubt that's what the expectation will be if they don't win and he doesn't play well. Because let's be honest, he didn't play very well against the 49ers. So you got two quarterbacks, one with a shoulder, one with an ankle. Now, Mahomes played pretty damn well, even on the bad ankle. So, for Eagle fans, they're hoping Hurts not only isn't hurting as much, but plays better.
I think that you mentioned the thing that screwed it up for everyone. Mahomes has become the Nick Saban of the NFL, where he's created such an unrealistic expectation of what you're supposed to be able to do normally, what you're supposed to be able to do hurt after doing that in the postseason last week. Like, if Jalen Hurts went out and had another game similar to what happened in the NFC Championship, that would honestly be expected given the fact that it's his shoulder, given the fact that they rely on him to be a big part of that run game, and given the fact that a lot of their passing game is, hey, take advantage of some deep shots with Devonta Smith and with A.J. Brown. And so if that is a little bit off, it would be pretty understandable given the injury. But we do the thing, we did this with Baker Mayfield, where after a while, once you're out there, we forget about the injury. We don't factor that into the way that we analyze these things.
Nope. Right. If you're out there on the field, don't want to hear about the injury. That's kind of how it goes. And, everybody talking about, well, the player nuts it up and that. Well, a lot of players do. There isn't one player on either team that's 100% right now. It's just a varying degree of how bad you're hurting, and you go out and you play. man, because that's what you do. You just go play.
It's interesting because Dan and I were discussing this. If Mahomes, if he gets a second Super Bowl here, that's 2 Super Bowls, 3 appearances, 5 AFC Championship games, a couple of MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. That's the greatest start in NFL history for a quarterback, right?
Easily. And it puts him on the track where we can start to have conversations if he wins this one saying, can he end up challenging Brady? Because he's done it all young enough to where we can look. And he's weathered the change already, right? They had to change that offense. A lot of parts around him are different from the first Chiefs Super Bowl team. And it's had to change the way he's played, the way he's adjusted, where we could absolutely track this and say he's the one guy that would have a chance of trying to pass what Brady has done. Maybe not overall Super Bowls. Maybe he won't get to 8 or even get to 7 or even get to 6. But if he gets ballpark with all the other things he's doing, he could have a greatest of all time claim.
It'll be interesting, but he is the one. There's no doubt. There's no other quarterback to point to with what he's already accomplished.
That can catch Brady.
That could catch Brady, right. That's exactly right. And we don't even know if Mahomes can, obviously. He's got a long way to go, but you can't say that he's not on the right track. That's for sure.
Gojo, what's the party scene for you? I feel like your party scene and me and your dad's party scene are vastly different.
Real different.
I mean,
Stugots, I say this
I
every year.
agreed to go to a cigar party with your dad. Like, that means you're home by 9.
I know. I'm coming with you guys. That's my plan too.
Right, but that's the start for you. It's the end for me and your dad.
Yeah. Stugots, I've said this I've gone to every Super Bowl since the one in Houston. So I don't know if it's 6 now or what it is, the number of Super Bowls that I've gone to. I still have not gotten better at navigating the party scene. I don't know how people get into these things. Every year I just sort of shoehorn my way in with one of my infinitely more popular or actually famous friends and find a way in there, but it's always drawing it up in the dirt. I've got no plays for Super Bowl week. I just show up and I freestyle the hell out of this thing. And 9 out of 10 times I end up drunker than I want to be, later than I want to be. Only this year now I'm doing a podcast so I can show up and do this in the middle of the day versus the Atlanta Super Bowl where I was doing 4 to 6 a.m. into 6 to 10 a.m. 3 of the days of the week, and then going out because I was 28, 29 at that point, going out and getting pissed drunk every night and waking up at 2 in the morning again. I literally shed tears on the flight home leaving Atlanta. I was so happy to be done with Super Bowl week.
Well, that was a thing that stopped me for years from going out is the fact morning show. Yeah.
Oh,
but,
yes.
And now it's just the fact that just like I went to last year, it was at SoFi. I was in LA. I went to Shaq's Funhouse, that party, and it was massive. It was awesome, but I didn't stay that long. I mean, it's fun for a younger crowd or a more hipper 60-year-old than me. I walked around for a while, looked at people, and was like, boy, this is pretty cool. They had entertainment. And then I'm like, oh, shit, 10:30? I got to get the hell out of here, man. It's getting late.
That late, huh?
Woo, man, am I out late? Oh, my God, I better get going, And that party hadn't even ramped up yet. The NFLPA party every year doesn't start till 11 or midnight.
It's
there's no chance I could go to that thing.
Stugots, this will tell you everything you need to know about me and the people that I hang out with. So I went to the NFLPA party with Kyle Rudolph, good friend of all of ours here, good friend of Weekend Observations from back in the day. And when it was down in Miami, we went to the NFLPA party with Kyle, his wife, and our buddy Dane, one of our other teammates from college who was down there. We were there for about 25 minutes. It was loud, it was dark, and we couldn't get as much food and drink as we wanted to readily. So we left and went and had a sit-down dinner in a Miami Taco Bell that night. We were crushing cheesy gordita crunches and quesadillas inside this Miami Taco Bell at about 11:30, and then all went home and went to bed.
I mean, in my opinion, now again, people are going to say I'm old and crotchety, but even when I started doing this, I was in my early 30s after I retired, starting to work at ESPN. Those parties, I mean, they're too crowded, and just as you said, Mike, you can't get drinks and food at a steady enough pace to hold my interest. They're just, but everybody says, oh, it's a place you got to be. You got to be at the EA Sports. You got to be at the Sports Illustrated. You got to be at, Shaq's Funhouse. You got to be at Gronk's thing. The Maxim party. You got to be, which I'm sure some of them are fun, but I mean, just a little too crowded for me.
I will tell you the one, and Stugots, I feel like you're the guy to help me out with this one here. Gronk Beach. How we doing on Saturday? I feel like you know some people that know some people. I feel like we could make this Gronk Beach thing happen. I don't know some people, but I know you that knows some people, so I figure you can be the one that helps me get to Gronk Beach.
And I'm certain you're referring to Chris Gronkowski, and you would think that would be the guy I go through, but it's not. I have learned it's Bobby Goons. Now, you don't need to know about Bobby Goons. There's no reason to discuss Bobby Goons. Gronk is lucky to have a Bobby Goons in his life. I am convinced that when Rob makes the Hall of Fame, it will be Bobby Goons giving the Hall of Fame speech.
Bobby Goons helping him present his bust in Canton.
Bobby Goons has been a guest on God Bless Football. He goes wherever Rob goes. It is the greatest thing ever. Wow. But Mike, I will tell you this. I do have access for you, Junior, okay? Again, your dad and I will be long asleep by the time this party launches. If you want to go to the Maxim party, I got you, okay? It's Saturday night before the Super Bowl, and I got you VIP if you want to go.
Wow.
Okay?
All right.
Of course he wants to go. I mean, you're doing the absolute right thing by not asking me because there's no chance on God's green earth.
Mike, I had me and you down for a little steak dinner that night.
That's probably about it. A nice early bird, right about 5:30. But I mean, where the Gronks is, Mike, it's 15 minutes from our house here at Talking Stick. They have it going on. They have Gronk's party. They have Shaq's Funhouse. Steve Aoki, the DJ, he has a night there as well, and there's one more night. I mean, they are going to be just
Steve Aoki throws cake at people in the crowd. That's my goal, get hit by cake.
There you go.
Gojo, I got you covered on all things Gronk. Anything going on there, I have you covered, okay? Between Mojo, Chris Gronkowski, and, of course, the great Bobby Goons.
The great Bobby. I need to meet this Bobby Goons fella.
Listen, you don't call him Bobby Goons, Mike. When you meet him, you say, the great Bobby Goons.
The great Bobby Goons. Kind of like Seinfeld, the maestro. You got to call him the maestro. The great Bobby Goons.
Oh, what
I got you covered. Gojo, you're good. I got you.
There we go. Super Bowl week is going to be an adventure. God Bless Football will be out there. Golic and Smetty will be out there. Gojo will be out there. And, of course, the great Bobby Goons. Guys, looking forward to seeing y'all out in the desert. Should be a good one. Thanks, boys.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
All right.
Brandon, by the way, before we get to this, that, and the third with three quick stories to finish off the day heading into Friday for everybody, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we talked about LeBron and your Lakers off the top, that LeBron is now, after the win against the Pacers last night, 63 points away from passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. According to ESPN Stats and Info, based on his scoring average this season, which is 30.1 points per game, which is insane, he would pass Kareem on February 9th against the Bucks, assuming he doesn't miss any games with injuries or load management. So I know DraftKings Sportsbook has had the ability for you to bet on when LeBron can and will pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I believe the odds are still up there right now. And so interesting to think about, man. Like, this was one of those records in sports that I'd imagine a lot of people thought would never get topped. And LeBron James, kind of like we saw with Brady, around long enough, been great long enough, and been making deep runs long enough to get himself within pretty easy shouting distance of this now.
Yeah, I actually appreciate the comparison, Mike. Mike Francesa was on First Take yesterday talking about Brady's retirement, and he said something that was pretty provocative, but I agree with, and it kind of rings true for LeBron. Says Tom Brady was not the best regular season quarterback he ever saw. Peyton Manning was. He said Tom Brady wasn't the best playoff quarterback he ever saw. Joe Montana was. Tom Brady is the most winningest and successful quarterback because he did it the longest and won the most games. And I feel like that's one of the things that's going to ring true for LeBron. Like, his greatness is in his longevity. His greatness is in his durability. His greatness in his ability to score. And he'll be the first person to tell you, little kid from Akron, scoring ain't even his first thing. He's trying to get the team involved.
Yep, exactly. It's been really impressive for LeBron's run there. So we're on the cusp of that. We'll have plenty of coverage of that, as it'll probably happen during, that'll be February 9th would be during Super Bowl week. So somehow I think if LeBron James does something big enough, it'll manage to crack through the malaise of Super Bowl week. But Brandon, let's finish this thing off right. Do you know what time it is? Boy, let me tell you, as much danger as you have flirted with in a long time, rest in power.
Mike, why is that song so problematic and so aggressive?
You
have to jump around quite a bit.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of landmine dodging you got to do on that thing right there. If you think Brandon did it successfully, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review Gojo wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And Brandon, plenty of people have weighed in on that. The Holy Moose says, love the pod. Brandon, can you try some Led Zeppelin for this, that, and the third? I'd love to hear you do Immigrant Song or Stairway to Heaven. It's your boy
Stairway
TP.
to Heaven's a long song.
That is a long song. That'd be a battle for you there. No Stairway, denied. It's your boy TP said between Brandon's impeccable this, that, and the third songs and Gojo's musical suggestion like Pretty Girl Walk, you guys have at least one song stuck in your head for the rest of the day after this podcast. It's Money in the Bank. So giving the people what they need, Brandon. I appreciate that from you.
Amen. I appreciate you for letting me.
Let's get to this, that, and the third, Brandon. 3 quick ones to end the day. This one, we have been refreshing the timeline rapidly for the last day or so here. Depending on what time you listen to this podcast, news may have changed about this, but all we know as of right now is that former Notre Dame quarterback and current Notre Dame offensive coordinator Tommy Rees was spotted leaving Notre Dame on a private jet heading to the University of Alabama. Chris Lowe from ESPN was first on reporting that Alabama is bringing Notre Dame offensive coordinator Tommy Rees to Tuscaloosa yesterday on Thursday to interview him for the vacant offensive coordinator job. Rees is believed to be Nick Saban's top target to run the Crimson Tide offense. Brandon, we know Bill O'Brien left to go back to the Patriots. I believe they swung and missed on a couple of other guys that they lost. But Tommy Rees, we will wait and see what that decision is. Again, we're recording this the night before, so if news breaks tomorrow, we will adjust to it tomorrow. But this would be a pretty big one, man. There's no real other way to say it.
Oh, no. I mean, huge, Mike. Obviously, we have our individual relationships with Tommy, and, we're going to root for him regardless. But I felt seen in a way as a Notre Dame alum to have Tommy even be interviewed by the Nick Saban to take over for Bill O'Brien over there, leading that offense. But also, Mike, there's no. Wait 1 second. I'm gonna come back. Wait 1 second. Oh, one thing I did see, though, that I'm pretty happy to see, one of the South Bend Tribune writers said that if Tommy does decide to go to Alabama, it will not be for financial reasons, basically saying that whatever Alabama offers, Notre Dame is willing and ready to match.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. I believe that was Eric Hansen from the South Bend Tribune that said that one there. Yes. I hope that's the case. It'd be nice to see Notre Dame ponying up to stay in the race with assistants. We always hear now one of the biggest things in college football is your assistant pool, how much salary the university will allow you to accommodate for that group of assistants to make sure you're hiring the best. I'll say this. I'm super excited for Tommy either way. If he does get this opportunity, what an incredible one. We know going through Nick Saban's system there tends to be a great way to keep climbing the coaching ladder in the way that Tommy, I'm sure, as a competitor wants to keep doing, whether that's in college, whether that's in the NFL, where he also spent some time while he was cutting his teeth coming up through coaching. But as a former teammate, as a friend, as a guy we've known for a while, would be ecstatic for him either way. Obviously would hate to see him leave Notre Dame, but I'm going to root for Tommy to succeed anywhere he's been. You guys have heard me on this podcast plenty. I think he gets a raw deal from Notre Dame fans more often than not and has since he was a player. And, it's a situation now where you're right. It is very validating to see other people appreciate what we have believed to be a really, really good offensive coordinator while he's been at Notre Dame, despite what some people want to mention.
But also just a very special football mind. Like, obviously, it's in his family. His father was a coach, and was scouting for a very, very long time in the NFL. Even when I was at Ball State, I got a chance to meet him and really talk to him. It's a great family. Couldn't happen to a better person. Obviously, it's just an interview. It's not just an interview. It's an interview in Alabama, but still, just shout out Rees.
Yep, exactly. Pump for Tommy. Notre Dame on the other side, I think is going to be in a really good position to attract another really quality offensive coordinator if Tommy does leave. You've got quarterback in Sam Hartman, who came over from Wake Forest, who's pretty high up in the preseason Heisman odds. You're returning a couple of a few really talented offensive linemen, including an All-American in Joe Alt at left tackle, deep running back room, some really promising transfers at other positions. So there's plenty to sell there if you're Notre Dame, but definitely this late in the game, as we just got past that second signing period, would certainly be jolting for everyone. But either way, love this attention for Tommy, however it ends up resulting, again, based on when you listen to this. Brandon, let's get to that. Another Notre Dame guy in the news, Julian Love had the time, New York Giants safety and friend of the podcast. Julian Love was on with Good Morning Football the other day and was asked about the Philadelphia Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni, who had beaten them in the divisional round most recently. He said, quote, "He's a guy who's doing a good job because he's not getting in the way of his team. He's an experienced roster from top to bottom, offense, defense." And when the folks on Good Morning Football pushed him a little more for his reaction, when we saw Nick Sirianni nodding into the camera when they were beating the Giants in the postseason, Julian's response was, "I don't like it. I don't like it at all. He's in for a free ride right now. You guys can coach this team." And he ended up doubling down on Twitter. He said, "Philly fans sure don't like this one, LOL, but I'm not wrong. This is a players' league, and Philly has dogs on the roster top to bottom. It's no mystery why they're in this position." Brandon, we talk a lot about this on this podcast, about talking your shit, because player, you got to go out there and back it up. I'd imagine that trip to Philadelphia, which already has a ton of venom for Giants fans, or Giants players, I should say, next year, going to be an interesting one for Julian.
Oh, yes. In contracts and his further NFL career, like I'm interested in how it goes, but I'm also thankful that he was honest in that moment, or his honest. Tell your truth. Tell your truth, because we all love Nick Sirianni. One of the things I love most about him is he seems like a fan on the sidelines. Like, he's calling that out in a very real way, and the results are there, though.
Nick Sirianni has lived to pander to the Philadelphia fan base. He's done a very good job of it. He is leaning into what he knows that city likes, which is what smart players and coaches do depending on where they're at right now. This is going to be interesting, especially if Philly ends up going out there and winning the Super Bowl. We saw last week, players and coaches, everyone is hip to the stuff that's being said. The Chiefs beat the Bengals. What did we hear in the postgame? Burrow had this, Burrow had that. I don't know if we got cigars, but we'll do that. God, Patrick Mahomes' dad with the all-time line, "I'm smoking that Joe Burrow." Lighting up a cigar on the field after the game. Yes. Legendary move. So this is only going to fuel what hopefully is a really fun rivalry for the next number of years now. The NFC East very quietly back in a position that feels a lot more familiar to the NFC East that we grew up on.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure the Commanders will figure it out eventually, or not. But this spice is real, especially Brian Daboll over there. Like, he's somebody who's never going to slip up and say something like that, but let the guys that are fighting for him go out and do the talking.
It does feel like a level of energy that Brian Daboll sets. We see him. He's a fiery dude in his own right. He sets that kind of tone. And so I'd be curious what's said inside that locker room on a number of occasions. But Brandon, speaking of etiquette, let's get to the third. There was an article that popped up yesterday in, I believe it was the New Yorker, New York Magazine, excuse me. The New Rules was the article about problem solving in situations involving etiquette. Whether it's between friends and lovers, whether it is parents, whether it's being in the city. It offered a number of different kinds of advice that we saw, Brandon, about 140 different ones. I'd ask, did any stick out to you? Because my immediate response and my first response was seeing a reference to dogs. One of the rules offered up in here was, when another human is present, don't talk to your animal in the private voice you use alone together. you use when alone together, meaning don't use your animal voice in public around other people. Brandon, couldn't disagree more with that one. If you don't like my dog voice, I've discovered that there is one less human I need around in my life. I don't need you around. I am going to use my dog voice when I'm around my dog. That's what he deserves. That's the respect he's given.
No. See, this is a bigger issue because I just found out that there's baby voices.
Oh yeah,
like that people speak to their children even, or like in a woo blah 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 blah. Like I'm dumbfounded by it, and I've never spoken to a dog in such a degrading, like idiot. Not it feels like I'm belittling the animal, and I choose to treat it with a little bit more respect, like I'm talking to you.
Yeah, and I choose to show them the love and affection that they're deserved. You try saying, "Oh, Mr. Hammy Man," in a normal voice and feeling like you're anything but a sociopath.
I don't even know what did you say,
Mr. Hammy Man.
Does the dog understand you?
Yeah, Mr. Hammy Man.
Hammy Man.
Mr. Hammy Man.
Mr. Hammy Man.
Mr. Hammy Man. That's what you call a big chunky doggy. Mr. Hammy Man.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So again, if you don't like my dog voice, you can leave. Me and my dog will stay hanging out here, and we'll have a perfectly good time. Were there any that stuck out for you, Brandon?
Yes, in the texting and posting section, further down, I thought, I'm a big fan of consent over here. Big consent fan, just love it. Ask before sending a super graphic pic was one of the things that popped up. Not one that really got my attention, but it did get my attention.
Yeah, fellas, don't send unprompted dick pics. And honestly, you probably don't need to send them ever. It's not a good looking thing. No one's ever sent a good one.
I bet when I was courting, pickup lines still worked. So I don't even know. Maybe I don't know what it's like out there. But this one I thought was interesting. This is rule 126. Don't use Instagram stories to surveil what your friends are doing instead of hanging out with you. I think that's a big one. It's something that I've experienced, obviously, using Twitter, with a media company and your employer. Like anything you do is kind of like people know and can talk to you about your day just because you're tweeting it out and you're tweeting through it. So Instagram stories is a little deeper than that. It's like, okay, I asked this person to text me back. I asked the person to hang out, and they're clearly, on episode X of Grey's Anatomy, they don't want to hang out with me.
Well,
I feel like it's
or they're out doing something else, I think is the one that really hits home.
Okay.
In which case,
you sound like you're speaking from experience with that.
Well, I'm just saying, in that case, take the hint. Okay.
Yeah.
When someone shows you who they are, believe them, or don't take it personally. Go one of two ways.
Okay, but this is also some great advice. Number 30 or 130. Sit down and respond to an email, even if it's a year late. That's a level of chivalry that I didn't know still existed, but I like.
Yeah, I think email especially, it's the least intrusive and least fast-paced form of modern communication, so that checks out. Like text messages, tweets, all those things, they cycle through pretty quickly. If you go back and respond to a tweet after a year, you're an insane person.
Yeah, how'd you find it?
I don't know. The one that really stuck out to me was Rule 61. White people should not use any variation of racial slurs at karaoke. Who? People still have to be reminded of that?
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I think I was in South Bend and we were listening to Ride With Me. Do you remember we all went to a karaoke bar? And Ride With Me is one of those ones that the whites love. So anytime anyone goes up to do it, there's a big scene. But sometimes the whites will sing the song. And I don't know if I'm conflict averse or was too much of a coward at the time. But I remember leaving the bar because I was afraid that I was going to hear something that I did not want to hear from a mouth that I did not expect to hear it from. But obviously I did expect it because I walked out. But the fact that this needs to be shared, pretty much validates every rule on this list for me.
It's absolute wild boy stuff here. Like, I understand if you're out with your friends, and the example they use is the Kanye and Jay-Z song, as they dub it, Friends in Paris. You can't control if that comes out at a bar.
Yes.
If it does come out at a bar, sing the parts that are far away from the chorus. Or just say MFer. Like, do anything. Or just don't. Just jump up and down and be sweaty. Do what white people do to almost any song. And just jump up and down a lot and bob your arms. But if you're in a karaoke setting, you've got choice. You have got choice. You get to do your homework. In theory, if you pick a karaoke song, you know it well enough to know it. If you're going up there and just flying by the seat of your pants, you're probably not that good at karaoke. You haven't thought this out well enough to be in front of people, and I question why they would give you the microphone. But especially in this case, I would say to you, whites, it's an advantage not saying that word in karaoke. You can catch your breath if you were potentially rapping that part. But again, if you cannot control yourself, one, do some soul searching, figure out why you feel the need to say that word so much, why you think it should still belong to you, and then try and process those emotions. And then two, just don't go near it. Pick any other number of songs. Brandon just told us about it the other day. We talked about it with Charlotte. Everyone, man, woman, and child behind Racer Creed knows a bunch of early 2000s country songs. Like, go with one of those. Sing Fergalicious. Sing something by Katy Perry. All of those things. Britney Spears, In Sync. Yes. You've got an endless arsenal of things to get the party started here. You don't need to do this.
Yes. Also the Disney songs. Those were also, people like to hear those. People like to hear some nostalgia. But yes, Mike, I just, you said all the things to the people, and I agree with a lot of them. But there are some songs like C Murder's Down for My, which is one of my favorite songs. And I think it says the N-word 99 times in that song. I counted. So I know it says that. If I see someone who looks like Tommy Rees getting up there and I hear I'm just gonna be like, okay.
Couldn't imagine how the screams I would scrimp if I saw a white person up on the karaoke stage and heard those horns chime in. Because, Brandon, that song was the number one call sign in the locker room, right? You put that song in any section in the locker room when we were in school, and people would flock over there. Everyone would start getting hype. You can get hype for free without singing the words, white people.
Right.
It is very easy.
Yes.
If I saw a white on stage and heard that song coming on, I think I'd have to run.
Unless, ironically, I said Tommy Rees because I've taken a lot of car rides with him down to Eiford's Lake over the summer. A lot of Drake. He's a respectable man. Censors himself very well. I mean, he's a smart guy.
Oh man, it's just some things we should be past. And then you see something like this, and it's like when you see a sign in public, you think, how many times has that thing happened in that exact spot where someone needed to put up a sign? How many times has the person or people who put together this article had to hear something like that in order to make sure they put this in the list early in the list?
Okay. I'm going to leave with this. Yep. That's how much I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave it. I went over it in my head, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it unsaid.
Sometimes it is best to just leave it unsaid. That's great advice to finish off the week on. If you enjoyed it, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review Gojo wherever you get your podcast. Feel free to say words there, as long as they're not racial slurs, which again, you guys are smart. You listen to this podcast. We love you. You understand these things, so I don't have to tell that to you. It's just if you're new around here. Make sure you check us out on the DraftKings YouTube channel as well under the Gojo with Mike Golic Jr. tab. Thanks so much. Again, at Gojo Show on all social media handles. Make sure you're following us. We'll talk to you from Arizona next week for Super Bowl week. Boom. Money in the bank.